Hi there, thanks for joining me. This is the image I'm going to be recreating. It's a nice little beach scene with a lifeguard house at sunset. So I'll be doing this on a piece of 4x6 watercolor paper and with ink and watercolor, of course. So let's get started. I'll be using my Artist Loft watercolor pad, and this is a 4x6 size, and it's a nice size for this particular image. And this paper it's not the greatest, but it's fine. I mean, it's good for a little project like this. So I'm going to start off with the lifeguard house, and it's a little bit kind of to the right, but I've kind of moved it a little bit to the left. I didn't want to put it completely into the center. And this is going to be really nice, simple. Not a lot of detail in this, but it's a nice, fun sketch for if you're a beginner or if you just want to do a little beach scene. I'm going to add 3 little palm trees here, and I'm going to extend the water out a little bit to the right. And then we've got the grasses over here and a little beach sign all the way in the distance there. And I like how this path is really wide and it gets smaller as it gets closer to the lifeguard house. And then we've got some really nice poles with some rope guiding us to the beach. There's a blue runner on the sand there. I think that might make it easier, like accessible for wheelchairs is my thought. I'm gonna leave that out. I'm not putting that in. I'm just gonna do sand all the way through. And then here's a bush here, so I'm doing some tiny little leaves, all different shapes, and some grasses. And they get smaller as we get into the back, closer to the background. And a few little bits of grass in the sand. So I forgot to mention, I think I forgot to mention, I had that propped up on another scrapbook. So it was on a little bit of an angle, which makes it easier to sketch. And I'm going to remove that so when I paint, it's just going to be lying flat. And I've got my watercolor travel palette here, and I'm using my size 0 Dugato watercolor brush. I'm going to wet all of the sky. And I'm going to start with some cobalt blue and a little bit of French ultramarine. Adding a little bit of orange to that, little cad orange. A little bit of rose, and then topping it off on the top with some more of the cobalt blue. It's going to be a few layers on this sky to get what we need. Adding a little cad yellow. And a little more cad orange. So I hope you're staying warm wherever you are located. We have had a really chilly winter here in Florida. And I think next week it's going to turn back around. But we actually had snow up in the Panhandle, and people on the news, they showed people on the news using a little bit of cobalt and some cobalt turquoise for the Lifeguard house. And they, on the news this morning, they were showing, they had cameras on the beach up in the Panhandle, and there were people on the beach, and it was snowing. I mean, a lot of snow, not just a little, a lot. So it's been just crazy, crazy. And I can't complain because I know all my friends and family up north are battling with single digits. So I can't complain. So I hope this little image is bringing you a little sense of warmth, bringing you to a happy place on the beach. So pop a little bit of sap green into the palm trees and through all of the grassy areas. I love sap green. It's so pretty. Little yellow ochre and some Payne's gray. That's my favorite shade for sand. And a little darker green with some sap green, a little bit of red. I used a little bit of hooker green. I'm just going to add another variation of green. Give us those shadows. I'm going to dry it a little bit. Adding cobalt turquoise for the water, but in the end, I'm going to switch things up a little bit because I didn't put the reflection of the sky in the water, so I'm going to go back and correct that at the end. If you want to go ahead and add a little bit of orange into your water now, I would suggest that because we're getting a reflection from that sky there, and I just kind of missed it at the moment. Adding a little bit of shadow into the sand with some of the French ultramarine blue and Payne's gray that I had on the palette. And a little bit of burnt umber for the tree trunks and the fence post. And the little sign. And a little bit more shadow in that sand. So I'm going to dry this now, and we're going to go in with some ink. And a couple little birds. It's nice to add a little variation of a little bit darker ink marks to just bring some details out. So do a few little spatters of what's on my palette. So I picked up the blue, and I'll do a little bit of green. And just, if you don't like a splatter wherever it landed, if it's in a bad place, just blot it off. And so here is my, what I thought was my finished sketch. And I didn't like how I didn't have that reflection in the sky, or in the water, excuse me, of the sky in the water. So I'm taking my uni-pasca and I'm going to go over that water a little bit, and then I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to come back in. I added a little bit of a shadow onto the lifeguard house too, as you can see, going kind of on a little bit of an angle. And I'm going to put in a little bit of an orange reflection from the sky into the water. I picked up a really tiny little brush. Mixing a little bit of kind of an orangey yellow. And we'll just drop that in. That's better. And I'm going to darken that sign a little bit with a little raw umber. And that's it. Here's the finished sketch. Simple, cute, easy, fun. If you make a mistake, you can always go over it with your uni-pasca and correct those things, which is nice. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was fun. Hope it brought you some warm vibes wherever you are. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to leave me a comment. If you have any questions, I'll leave all the supplies in the description below. And also think about subscribing. That will really help my channel out so I can bring you more content. Thank you, and bye for now.